head over to my craft desk, which I hope is set up to go. Now, I apologise for the lighting. My video light blew up last week, so I'm working on with a smaller light, which isn't as good, but I think it's okay. So hopefully you can all see that craft desk. There may be a little bit of a lag here, so it will pop up in a minute. I haven't even got a card to show you because I haven't done one. We're creating as we go. So in my list of supplies that you would need, I did put up a heap of stuff, and we're going to, oh, she sent you a text, excellent. Yes, see, she's probably not logged in to YouTube, so might not be able to comment. But we will need a folded white card base, and I put up the measurements for both Imperial and Metric if you're watching this back later. I've got a couple of pieces for the inside. So I'm using Pool Party, but obviously you could use any colour that you liked for your layer for the inside, and then a piece of white to go on the inside. For the outside, we will need, I've got so many bits of cardstock here. I was in such a panic this morning. Have I got, maybe I'll have to cut another one. No, here we go. Look. So there's a piece of basic white that is basically the same size as the front of the card, and then another piece which was the same width as the front of the card, but it's a little bit shorter. That's 8 centimeters, and I can't remember what I said in inches, but it's 8 centimeters, so it's just a little bit shorter. There's a strip of crumb cake cardstock and scraps of white to do some stamping or some mask stenciling, which is what we're going to do, either or. So I've got some scraps. These aren't really scraps, they're big pieces, but you can use anything. If you're using the stencil, hello Robin. Oh no. Oh Robin, I'm so sorry. I hope you're not unwell. I hope you're both not unwell, Robin and Graham, with COVID. We haven't heard that word for such a long time. I'm so sorry, and I hope that you are not unwell with it. So yeah, I have quite a few different sizes in scraps of cardstock here, but if you are using the masks, we'll have a look in a minute. I do have a larger size cut because I wanted to show you how the masks go if you're just using them as a feature design. So I'll pop those up there out of the road for a minute. Now, bear with me. I'll get a tissue because Now I'm watching on my computer and there is a really huge lag I can see. I'm a long way behind. So, hello Deb, lovely to have you here. Yeah, if you are watching, there does seem to be a bit of a lag. But anyway, I won't notice that, and you won't notice that. You'll just be working a little bit behind me. All right, so we are creating, and I'm just going to show you this little graphic here, but we are creating for the, well, I'm creating for the Colour Inspiration Challenge, which finishes on Monday. I'm so far behind, but they are some stunning colours, and it's a beautiful inspiration image this fortnight. We're using Berry Burst, Poppy Parade, Pool Party and Crumb Cake. A really interesting mix of colours, and they are what I'm using today. They're what I put in the list, but of course you don't have to use those when you create, because the beauty of this card is you can use any colours that you like. Now, I'm going to be using the masks. Let's have a quick look at them. They are called the, oh, well, I need to go back to my craft desk, won't I? Yes. They're called the Abundant Beauty Decorative Masks. I think there's 7 in there. I'll have a quick look at them. So there are 4 masks that make up basically these flowers. Can you see those flowers there? So there's the petals, there's one for the centres, there's one for detail in the centres, and then there's some leaves. So they all have little notches in the top here, so that when you lay them down, they're numbered 1, 2, 3 and 4, which is the order you're supposed to do them in. I don't do them in that order, and I don't think it really matters, but they've got little notches up in the corner, so when you lay them down you can work out exactly where they need to go. Then there is another 3 masks in the set. There's this, I don't know, houndstooth, is it? I don't know, it's the Maya design, I think, which is one of them, which is a bit larger than the others, and then there's 2 smaller ones. One is snowflakes and one is leaves. And we'll be using, well, I'll be using this one today, but you could use any. It's just a pattern in the background. So I'll pop those aside there for a minute, because if you don't have, well, I'll also be using embossing paste. Now, if you don't have, let me just get this one out of the road. So I'm going to use embossing paste for my design today with my masks. If you don't, it's running very low, I need to get some more, but if you don't have embossing paste, you can just use the masks and ink. And so I'll show you how to do that. If you don't have the masks and you want to do the flowers, I'm using those to create those flowers. I have created some other flowers using the Cheerful Daisies stamp set, and I have no idea what I did with that stamp set. Did I put it in here? Probably not. Let me find it. Here it is. So if you don't have the masks, I pulled out, and I did say my instructions to pull out a stamp set. The Cheerful Daisies I think work quite well because it's a daisy-like flower. If you have the old sunflowers, that would probably work as well. But any sort of floral die where you're going to just stamp the images and die cut them is going to suffice if you don't have the abundant mask dies. But Jackie does, so I'm hoping she's getting herself set up there. As we're going to do the embossing paste part first, because we need for that to dry. So the pieces that we'll need to do that, if you're using the embossing paste, are the 2 white pieces. The one that's the same size as the card, and then the shorter piece is what we're going to put our embossing paste onto. And I'm going to be using that houndstooth or whatever that pattern is. Any just basic pattern mask will work as well. If you, so we're going to, I'm just trying to give those people who maybe don't have the embossing paste an idea of what they're going to do instead. So for the shorter piece, you're going to put so the smaller piece, which was 8 centimetres or whatever that was in inches. I should have printed that thing out, shouldn't I? You're just going to put your mask down and use either a sponge or a sponge dauber or an ink blending brush to apply some colour over the top of the, have I got a spare bit? So this isn't the right size, but this will give you an idea. So you're going to just apply the ink over the top. There's my ink pad. I've got Pool Party, which is what I'm using in the background. Oops, and I'll get a block, pop some ink onto my block. So we've got regulars on here at the moment, but I usually use a block because I'm a little heavy-handed on my ink pad and I don't want to damage it. So then you'll just pop your stencil down. You can tape it if you want to. I'm not going to bother. Pick up some ink and just apply the ink over the top. Now this is if you don't have the embossing paste, Jackie, so you're not doing this. Apply the ink over the top. It's moved underneath. And then once you've done that and you end up with a pattern, it's a bit blurry because I moved the stencil, then I'm going to go in and go over the top. until, so just to colour in some of the white on the bottom part of it. And as you can see, when you're finished, you'll end up with slightly darker down the bottom and slightly lighter at the top. So if you are not using embossing paste, that's how you're going to create your top piece. But the embossing paste going on these two, we'll do one first. Now I've got ink all over this, so I'm just going to clean that off. And we'll do the smaller one first. Just place your stencil down. Now you can tape it if you want to. I'm not going to bother. I've got my embossing paste, and I do have, I can never remember what these are. And where's Sharon Norman when I want her? What are these called? She knows what they're called. These things, these plastic spatula type things. I'm going to pick up some of my embossing paste on the back side of the tool. Can't remember what it's called. And you want to apply this. You could go all over the top. I'm just going to apply it in sections, so it's not everywhere. Just, I'll put some down in this corner. Once you've got some embossing paste on, it sort of holds the card in place. And then maybe some up here, a little bit up the top here, and a little bit down here. So that will mean, once we take this off, that you'll end up with some gaps where there's no paste. I'll just take the edges off and we'll set that one aside to dry. Now I've got paste everywhere here. I'm just going to scrape that off. Put this one down, and this one will only need the paste along the bottom. So again, pop your stencil or your mask over the top. I'm old school, they're a stencil to me, and they always will be. And then this can go just randomly again along the bottom of that piece. Lift it up. That doesn't matter that that's up there because that will be hidden. It's mainly this bit along the bottom that you want to be not fully embossed. You want some little extra areas, but that's the bit that's going to show. Okay, so hopefully Jackie is keeping up. We'll set that aside to dry. Now normally I would run away and clean all of this off. I am not going to right now. I'll clean it off a bit later, so I'll just pop that over out of the way. And I'm going to remove my top sheet of grid paper because it's got embossing paste all over it now. Just throw it on the floor. Okay, and I'll just put that down in my inky block. Get that out of the road. So now I've got a nice new sheet of grid paper, and while those two pieces are drying, which I will put aside over here so I don't plonk anything on them. So hopefully, are you up with me, Jackie? You're done? Excellent. So put those aside to dry, and we will move on to using our, creating our flowers with our Abundant Beauty masks. So we've got the 4 masks. And I will say, Sharon, when we did it, I did a test of this with Sharon this morning, not the actual creating, but the YouTube streaming, and there was some buffering, and my Wi-Fi must have had a hissy fit, and the camera dropped out. So if that happens, just stick with it because it will come back automatically, or it should. Fingers crossed I've spoken too soon, but yeah, bear with me. So I don't know whether that buffering shows on the replay or not. We'll wait and see, won't we? So we've got these 4 stencils. I'm going to do the petals first. Now, you can just do these on scraps. It doesn't fit very well this way, but it fits up this way. So you can, as long as you can fit your flowers on a scrap, you can do it on a scrap of basic white. I'm going to do it on a large scrap just to show you what it looks like when you do the whole thing as a feature. So we're going to cut ours up today for our card, but I'm going to just do this on a larger scrap so I can put the leaves on and show you what it looks like as a feature. So when I'm lining this up, I'm going to apply some tape to the sheet of card in the back. So line it up somewhere. I'll pop it in the middle of my screen. And I will tape the card down, and then I'm going to tape the stencil over the top. Now the thing is that you want to know where to put the little V mark. So grab a pencil and just make a little mark wherever. If you're putting it down here, then make your mark wherever the V mark is. I'm going to put it roughly in the middle for this purpose. It doesn't really matter because we are going to cut them out. So make a little V where that V is, because then when we come along with our next one, we'll be able to just line it up like so. So you can see the number. I don't know if you can actually, can you see that number there? Yep, there it goes, number 1. So as long as the number's up the right way, then everything, the V should make everything match. But we're going to start with the petals. Let's pop that down again. It's for this one anyway, it's probably best to tape it down. My washi tape's a little, how you going? And I'm using Berry Burst. Berry Burst is the most amazing colour, and it is amazing when you watercolour it or sponge it, because it has so much variation in colours. It goes from pink to a really deep, vibrant purpley colour. So I'm taking my time a little bit here, trying not to rush. Hello, Monica. How are you? Trying not to rush because Jackie's following along. So I'm going to grab a block and put some ink on a block. And pick my colour up. I've got one of the mini brushes. It gives me a little bit more control. Now the only thing that I will say is when you pick your ink up, it's quite strong on your brush when you pick it up from the block. So just take the excess off first. Even though we're using a stencil, you can take it off on the edge of the stencil if you like, but I would still do that. I'm going to start in the middle and I'm going to push my ink out towards the outside because I want my flowers to be a stronger colour towards the centre. So I'm just pushing the ink out. And starting in that centre block so that if there is any big blobs, they'll be in there. You can see it's getting a little bit darker in the centre. Now you can make this as dark as you like. Berry Burst is the colour that we're using, so I really want to showcase that colour. So I'm going to make it quite dark in the centre. So just keep applying the ink until it's as dark as you want it. And do that for all of the flowers. Whoops, I did a little bit of boo-boo there. I didn't take the ink off first. It's quite dark here now, so we'll have to even all that up. Now, if you don't have these blending brushes, you could use a sponge, or I did pull out the little sponge daubers. They work as well. But again, take the excess off, start in the middle and push the ink out. So the daubers give a slightly more textured or grainy effect than the blending brushes do. but they still work just as well. You get quite a much more intense colour out of the daubers because there's a lot more pressure on the daubers. I'm probably going to need some more ink. Let's do this little one. Just got to try and remember to take that excess off. Now this one, because I used the dauber, I haven't gone towards all the outsides, so we'll fix that one up so they all look the same. So just working those. I've got quite a dark bit here, so I will have to even the other petals up. Now if you wanted to, you could add another colour in here. Because I'm working to the colour challenge, I'm not going to. Hello Barb, you found us and you're watching on your phone. That's excellent. I'm impressed, Barb. So now I've got a few little blotches here. I'm actually going to fix those with the sponge dauber because I should be able to add a bit more intense colour where those little blotches are. Hide some of those. And then I'll use my sponge dauber just to make this a bit darker on the inside here. Just use up all of this ink. And I can't wait to see what they look like. But isn't that a fabulous colour? It's gorgeous. Now I've got ink everywhere. Putting this aside up here. So we'll remove the tape. Ta-da! They're pretty stunning, aren't they? Whoops, just drop that in the ink pad. So we can get rid of that one and put that somewhere where you're not going to put anything on it. Cheryl says to herself. And next up we'll move on to the centres. So how are we going, Jackie? Hello, Colleen. Yours is especially dark even after off inking. Oh, well, have you opened it up now, Jackie? Does it look stunning? Because I mean, mine are quite dark and I think they look quite stunning. I mean, we're featuring Berry Burst here, so let's do it with gusto. I'm going to do the centre of my flowers next. So we've got stencil number 3, which is the round centres. Now, theoretically, if you line up the little V, that should line up. I've found that I do have to swivel it just a little bit. And I'm going to tape that down again so that it doesn't move on me. And I'm going to do the centres in one of the other challenge colours, which is Poppy Parade. So let me get out another block and some Poppy Parade ink. I've just inked this one up, so I should have lots of juicy ink. That's probably way too much ink. And I do have a Poppy Parade blending brush, or one that I meant to use. I also pulled out a sponge dauber in Poppy Parade because these are smaller areas. If you wanted them to be darker, then the sponge dauber might work. But I'm going to try them with the Poppy Parade first. Now again, take your excess off and then just apply the colour in a circular motion. And I'm going to make it darker on one side. I'll try to, or attempt to. Give it a little bit of shading. I suppose it doesn't really matter because I'm going to cover it over anyway, but you know. Just get some nice Poppy Parade or real red if you're following my original instructions. I got it wrong. But you are allowed to substitute, but you know, if you've got Poppy Parade, then probably should use it. And you know, there goes my tummy again. Doesn't matter, it doesn't care whether it's on YouTube or Facebook. All right, let's see what this one looks like. Ooh, wow. Well, just wow. That's, no, I'll just get rid of this red ink. That's pretty stunning. Pop this aside so that I can wash it up later. They're pretty stunning. Now, at this point, if you are, I think it's only Jackie that's working along, but if you were using, so Barb saying, I had you on my tablet and I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me. Yeah, it's not a Zoom. Barb, not a Zoom. Just YouTube. All right, so that's my stencil flowers. We are going to do something else to it, but I did want to show you what I did with the Cheerful Daisies stamp set, because I'm going to create 2 cards as we go here. So I stamped the Cheerful Daisies in Berry Burst, and then I stamped the centres with Poppy Parade in the same way, and then I die cut them. So I did 4 because they're a little bit smaller than these flowers, and I just wasn't sure how they were going to space on the front of the card. So I've done 4. Obviously the stenciled, are they daisies? Whatever, they look sort of daisy-ish, don't they? They have a lot more texture because we've done that darker inking in the centre, and then it's lighter towards the outside. These I've just stamped. I haven't worried about doing anything fancy with them, but if you want to put them in the Stamparatus and like stamp them multiple times, you would be able to achieve that effect. So you can play around with them, but for the purposes of today, I've just stamped them. They're very basic. They do have the outline stamped around them, but you can hardly see them because I didn't stamp off the Berry Burst petals. I wanted them to be nice and dark. So if you are following along with this video later and you're doing the stamping, then now's the time when you would be doing your stamping and die cutting of your flowers. So we put those aside to go on our other card, our stamped card. But for this one, I'm going to add something else. There is in these dies some detailed centres. Now that looks pretty stunning the way it is, and we could easily just use that and they would be lovely. But, oops, what did I just drop? There is this like detailed centre part of the die. Go down and pick up whatever I just dropped in case it's important. Oh, yes, it is. And if you can see that, yes you can, it adds some dots and a little bit of extra to make the centres sort of look popped up. That looks pretty cute just the way it is, doesn't it? So bearing in mind we are going to be working in reverse. Now I think in my instructions I said to use Versamark because we're going to ink through that and then white emboss it. Now there are umpteen million things you could do here. You could ink it with a darker colour if you wanted to, and then then you wouldn't have to worry about embossing it if you didn't want to. You could apply Versamark and then put clear embossing powder over it. That would be pretty stunning. Today I am going to use white, so I've got that fixed in my head and we'll see what it looks like. So I've got some white embossing powder here, and I do have my embossing buddy out of the embossing toolkit. And I'm going to use white craft ink. The reason I'm using white craft ink is because it is a little easier to get off the stencil. But if you don't have your white craft ink out, Jackie, then use your Versamark. Now you will need something to apply I don't think I put this in my instructions, but you will need something to apply this to the stencil with. I better just tape it down before I start so I don't muck this up. And so I'm going to use a sponge dauber. And I do have one that I have set aside here to use with white. If you're using Versamark, then use a sponge dauber that is clean or that you just keep for Versamark. So I'm going to apply the white ink, and it's going to require a dabbing motion. If you're just applying a colour, Jackie, if you're just going to apply like a darker shade, maybe cherry cobbler would look really nice over the top just with ink. Then you can just use the blending brushes. But because I want, I'm using this thicker craft pigment ink, I want it to get down in those holes. Oh, now before I start, I am going to, I've got this out. Use this, she said, use this. I'm going to just, actually what I might do is just get my heat tool and I'm just going to give that a quick dry off. Excuse the noise. Just in case it's wet. If it's wet, the powder's going to stick to it all. And then I'm going to apply my embossing buddy all over the top, and that will hopefully stop stray bits of powder sticking to those flower centres. So I'll pick up some ink with my sponge dauber and just dab it on. You can already see that quite a bit of that red colouring is going to be coloured over by the white powder. Now if you didn't want to colour over all that beautiful red, doing this with Versamark and then a clear embossing powder would be probably very effective. But let's have a look and see what it looks like once we do white. Now I think that's enough. I've got a very juicy white ink pad there. Okay, now we'll lift this carefully off. And that already looks quite different. Do you like it, or did you like it with just the red? Anyway, it's on there now. Now we could just dry that off and leave it if we thought, oh, I don't really want it to be bright, bright white, but you know, we're going to run with it as white. So we'll pull this off. Got my white powder here and my little spoon. Let's see, hopefully we did enough prep that it won't just stick to the entire centre of the flower. Tap it off. Oh, it's looking pretty good. It's going to go a lot whiter when we heat it. It's looking pretty okay at the moment. You like it better with the white on it? Yeah, it's a totally, it really gives it a totally different look. So bear with me with the noise again while I heat this. I could put my silent heat tool on, maybe I should do that. No, it'll be right. Got too many things going on that are new to worry about my silent heat tool. So I think I've got them. Does give them a lot more texture, doesn't it? But as you can, if we'd done it in a darker colour, it would have given it a different look, and if we'd done it with Versamark and clear powder, would have given it a different look again. So that's our flowers done. Now I did want to show you, and I'm going to have to bring back in some tape, what it would look like if I did the leaves. If you're using the stencils as they were intended in one big picture. So these are the leaves. This is actually stencil 2, but I'll line up that V again. And I'll need some more tape just to hold that down, because it's all got a bit wonky now with the embossing. I'll hold that one down and we'll hold this down at the bottom. Now leaf-wise, colour-wise, there's no green in this colour way, so I'm actually going to use Pool Party because it's sort of greenish. So I've got my Pool Party and the block that I had that ink on before. And I've only got my large one, but we'll run with that. Or you could use, I do have a Pool Party sponge dauber, so we'll see how we go. Hopefully Jackie's keeping up here. She's probably going. You don't want me to type as well as craft? Oh, excuse my tummy. All right, so we'll take the excess ink off. Doesn't matter too much with Pool Party, it's pretty forgiving. And just apply the colour. Now our background is going to be Pool Party, but a much lighter version of Pool Party. So I do want a little bit of darkness to this. It feels really odd when you're doing this because you think you're going over your flowers. But they're protected by the plastic. And that looks pretty good. Let's take that off. How stunning is that? Now, if you were going to just use the masks as they come, that's what you would end up with. And then you would cut this down to a smaller size and mount it onto a card front. It'd be bigger than our standard card front. There's my standard card front here. So you would be making a slightly different size. I think it might fit. I haven't cut any of the Imperial sizing card here, but it might fit an Imperial card. I'm not sure. I think they're a little bit longer this way. Shorter. Maybe just, but probably not. So you might have to make a slightly odd shaped card to fit it, but isn't that pretty? And the Pool Party does sort of look green, doesn't it? Oh, so you don't have to do your leaves like this, Jackie, because we're going to cut them out. I just did it to show everyone what it would look like. So you can use scraps of card if you like, and that's what I'm going to do because I want another set of leaves. What you can do, because we're going to cut this out, is just pop the stencil down. Make sure there's no ink that's going to get on our flowers. Pop the stencil down around the outside and apply some more ink. I'm just going to hold it in place. These are only really small. And we'll get another couple of leaves going here. I'm not sure how many I'll need, so we'll just do a few. And I like this bigger one. These ones are a little bit different, so I'll do some more bigger ones. They only take a second to do. There. I'm just about out of ink here, but anyway, we'll make it work. Am I off the bottom of the page? Probably. Okay, that might be enough. I think that's plenty of leaves for 3 flowers. So we'll pop that leaf stencil aside. And now you would go ahead and do the fussy cutting. Now, I'm just going to leave that for the moment, but for the stamped flowers that I did in that daisy set, there is one small leaf. So I stamped that multiple times and in Pool Party, and I've just die cut all those little leaves ready to go with those other flowers. This will be totally different. But yeah, you would want some leaves to go with your flowers, I think. All right, so those are ready to be fussy cut. So Jackie, if you're up to date with that and while you're waiting, you could start to do your fussy cutting if you like while I move on to the next thing. Now, where's our embossing paste? Should be dry. Is your embossing paste dry yet, Jackie? You might have to hit it with a heat tool lightly, not too much because it'll bubble. And I actually have a set somewhere that I did earlier, but you could dry yours just lightly with a heat tool. I've got a set that I did earlier. If you think they're still a bit wet, Jackie, and you don't want to dry them with a heat tool, just work on die cutting all those flowers and leaves while you're waiting. But I have a set that I did earlier, which is exactly the same some on the smaller part, some on the full-sized card. They are going to go onto our card front like this. Now, the reason, even though only a part of this one will show, the reason that I've done it full length is because there's quite a bit going on here, and we're going to add a strip of the crumb cake strip under here. And so there is quite a bit going on just in that little section of the card, which was going to make it quite bulky. So I've put that underneath layer full height so that it will help not create too much of a bulky piece just here, because otherwise you'd have no extra layer. This would be flat to the card, 3 layers here and just 1 layer embossed here, and it gets a bit wavy. So this just helps the card not be wavy. So we are not going to apply any colour to this bottom one. We are going to apply colour to this one, and I'm going to use Pool Party. So once your embossing is dry, Jackie, then we can go ahead and apply colour. I'm using my blending brush, and I'm going to apply my colour so that it's deeper at the bottom and lighter at the top. So we'll start at this bottom layer, and I'll just apply the ink, and the embossing paste should start to pick up and highlight some of that ink. Because the embossing paste it's not totally non-porous, but it is more non-porous than the paper. So it will be, I don't know if you can see, that the white bits are where the embossing paste is, and the the paper's taken up the ink, but the embossing paste resists it, so it stays white or creamy coloured. So that's quite dark along the bottom there. So now I'm just going to flip it around and do a really light layer at the top. Want some colour, but not too much. Something like that. Now I'm going to grab a tissue, and I will just go over the top of that, because just to make sure that I get it all off the top of the embossing paste. Now, as I said, if you were working without the embossing paste and you were just working with the mask, then I've gone ahead and put my stencil, which I've lost now because it's got embossing paste all over it. I just put my stencil down, I went over and applied the Pool Party ink, again darker at the bottom, not so dark at the top. And then when I removed it, it looked a bit stark because it was just the background. So then I just went over with my Pool Party to fill in so that it wasn't such a stark white background in behind. And that's the non-embossed piece, just stenciled, and this is done with the embossing paste and the stencil and then coloured. So slightly different, but you still get a similar effect. So our piece that goes underneath. Okay, so first of all we better apply this crumb cake layer. So there was a strip of crumb cake in the panel, and I want that to be quite a narrow layer. I don't want it to be too thick. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back side of the cardstock. Oh, now there's one that I did earlier. Oh, that was the one I didn't like. See how I did it all over? And I thought, no, that's just too strong and is going to detract it's not, you'll see the pattern, but you won't see the flowers. So that's what I ended up with. That's much nicer, I think, a much nicer background for the flowers. So, but I will want a layer of ink along the bottom section that is darker. And I know all my girls are going, oh, Cheryll, turn the paper over. Yeah, I know. I was in a bit of a hurry this morning. Sorry. Do what I say, don't do what I do. Is that how it goes? So I've got a little bit of ink along the bottom, and I'm just going to place it down along like that. So it's only just a tiny bit of crumb cake showing. And we'll do the same on this piece. So this is the bottom part that's a bit darker. Just a little bit of glue. And then I'll just place it down on top of the crumb cake cardstock. And then for my embossed piece, I'm not gluing it at the moment, but it's going to go over the top like that. So this piece here, because we don't have an embossed piece at the bottom, I took the panel of white cardstock that went in the background, and I have used one of the embossing folders that I mentioned that I'd forgotten to put in the instructions. So I pulled a few out and I did a few samples, and you can tell me what you think, but these 3D embossing folders that are quite large work really well because you can fit the cardstock in across that way, which doesn't matter so much for the bricks. Well, it does, because you want your bricks to be running the right way. You don't want your bricks to be running up that way. So if you were to put it in this way, your bricks would be sideways. So this is great because it actually fits that layer, and you can run it through and emboss the whole piece. You could just emboss the bottom if you wanted to, but I'll show you why I've said to emboss the whole piece in a minute. There is a method in my madness, but I've embossed the whole piece. So I've got, that one's the exposed brick. I also did the time-worn type, which also matters. You can't do that one this way because there's text in it and you want the text to be running the right way. So we can use either of those. I also pulled out another one just to try. So this is a smaller, it's still a 3D embossing folder, but it's smaller. It's the online exclusives pack of 3. I can't remember what they're called. Basic embossing folders or something. But I had to run it through. Now you could just do the bottom, but it won't fit through the cut and emboss machine. So I actually just did the whole lot. For the same reason that I've done the whole lot here, but that's quite a distinct dot. I'm not bleeding, that's ink. Quite a distinct dot pattern. So we'll see which one we think works the best, shall we? Just pop all these folders out of the road. These two are very similar. Two of my favourites, other than the distressed tile, which I love even more, but I thought that might have been a little bit too patterned. So where we've got the embossed piece on this piece, we're going to have the pattern. So you could go for a totally different look and have the dots at the bottom, or you could stick with the slightly distressed look. I quite like that one. The distressed brick's probably going to look alright as well, but I think I like this one. So we'll go with the time-worn type. And so that's going to go onto our card front like this, and this one is going to go onto our card front like that. So the only thing that we need to do before we glue any of this down is, Sharon, yeah, now I'm answering your comment now, even though you won't see it for a little while because there is quite a substantial delay I've noticed between as I'm doing things and as you guys see it. I've got it open on a computer over here and I can see that there's a big delay. So I'm just using linen thread, and I'm going to wrap that around this bottom piece here. So we'll need quite a long piece. I'm going to wrap it around the smaller piece and tie it in a bow somewhere on the front. And wrap it around twice. Trim it off and tie it in a bow. You'll be able, it's not stuck, so you'll be able to move it up and down once you've tied it. that one. I'll just quickly do this one, which will give Jackie a bit of time to catch up if she's still going there. This is going to be a way over time one, I can see. That's right. You'll forgive me for not being organised, I'm sure. This one in a bow. Don't worry too much if it's loose because we'll be able to fix that. Okay, so I want my thread to be quite close to the bottom. And it will be over that crumb cake piece. At the bottom. And if it's all sort of, that's a roughly around where you want the bow, I think. Something around there. And if it is loose, which this is a little bit, just grab a piece of tape. I like these ones because they're quite easy to fussy cut, Jackie. She said she's not the best at fussy cutting. So if your ribbon is loose, then just pull it up at the back and put a piece of tape, and that will keep it nice and tight across the front. Let's pull this one down over the. Oops, going behind because I didn't put glue across the whole bit. Bring it down, we'll fix that bow up in a minute, we can wrangle that into where we need it to be. And this one's actually not too bad, but I'm going to stick it anyway, it just helps keep everything in place. Pull it tight, put a bit of tape on the back like that. Okay, then you can go ahead and glue those pieces together. So we'll just grab some liquid glue. The linen thread's quite nice and fine, so it will stick. Okay, now stick the right one on the right one, Cheryl. So this is the embossed piece, it's going to go on the embossed piece. And then just make sure that it's glued flat. I'm just going to stick it underneath my grid paper just to make sure that it all glues. There's quite a bit of texture on that one, so you want to make sure that it's glued. We'll put some glue on this one. And glue this one down onto that embossed piece. And I think I've got my text up the right way. Make sure that's glued. Wow, I'm looking at my video, I'm only up to tying ribbon. So again, just need to make sure that that's all glued down nicely. So again, I'm just going to stick that underneath here. Hopefully the other one's glued. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. So that can now go onto our card front. So I'm using quite a bit of glue because this is getting a bit thick with all the embossing paste and the layers. So we'll just make sure that it's well stuck, not to my cardstock, and in position where it should be. The beauty of liquid glue, you do get a little bit of leeway. Something stuck on the back of there. Must have been underneath the grid paper. This one's right to go on the front. Stick that down. Okay, now I need to fussy cut these, but I have done some of the little flowers ahead of time. I haven't done the leaves. I'll have to fussy cut those now because I knew that it would take forever. So I'm just going to quickly cut the leaves out, even though I like these flowers better than the ones I did before. Just have to make another card, won't I? So we'll just pull all these out. I don't even know if I need all the little ones. Flowers are going to go onto the card front. Something like this. Fix my bow up in a minute once we've got all our flowers down. Something like that. And then, so we'll need our leaves to just stick out from underneath them. So these leaves are really easy to fussy cut. Nothing too fancy. Just check on my comments while I'm doing this. I'm just leaving a bit of a white border around the edge most of the way. That's pretty yucky. Now obviously normally I would take just a little bit more time, but you get the general idea. Sure we'll need all of them, but let's see how we go. These little ones. And there we go. Oh, forgot this one. This little odd one out over here. I'm just checking the time. I'm a little bit over my normal hour, but I did spend so much time mucking around at the start. Okay, so I've got all my leaves done and dusted. Let's start gluing some stuff down. I'm going to actually show you a little trick here because all these leaves go the same way and that's not going to look very natural. So let's grab a spare bit of card. And we'll bring back that leaf stencil die and I am just going to clean it off because I've got blue ink on the front of it. Got white ink all over it too now. Just clean that off. Hey Jackie, I'm just throwing something else into the mix here. So this normally goes with the 2 up. So it normally goes that way. So if you just flip your stencil over, making sure that it's clean, grab some ink, you can then make some leaves that actually go in the opposite direction. So let's just do a couple of those, just so that we're not all going the same way. Just got enough ink here to do another one, I think. They only take 2 seconds to fussy cut, so, and it will make such a difference. Oops. All right, let's do these ones. Now I've got so many leaves, it's unbelievable. There we go. They're going the opposite direction. That makes me happy. Jackie, my fussy cutting's not that the best either. It's a bit quick, but I think these flowers are so stunning that it's not going to matter. Okay. So now I'm just going to glue mine down with liquid glue. You could use glue dots if you wanted to. But see, if I put this one on this way, it's going to stick off the edge. And I want it to stick down this way. So we'll put that one on, this one on first. I'll just put glue on the top because it's got to sit over that linen thread. Let's do that, like something like that. Just hold it for a second, remembering that it's got to stick to the embossing paste. Right, now, so we can put one down there like that, because if I put one that went the other way that we just did, it would stick out. I don't really want that. So we'll put one down over this side in the same sort of fashion. Hold it down for a second. Now I'm going to pop the flowers up. I think we might pop those up with glue dots, but we will put the rest of the leaves down flat. So we need one to go up the top here. Just make sure that I've got ones that are going the right way. Not sure, might do this way. Put quite a bit of glue on the back because it's got to get down in amongst this embossing paste. Oh, it's a bit high. Sneak it down a bit. What have we got left here? Put 2 in over here. Something like that. We've just got to leave a bit of room because we want a sentiment to go in there. Just here, so just going to leave a little bit of room there. Oops. Hold that down for a minute and we'll pop this one in. Just making sure that it's not, oops, too far under. Just up the finger. Okay, so that's our leaves. Just put that on there. And then we'll need some dimensionals. Do I have any? A bit disastrous, won't it, if I don't have any dimensionals here? Oh, here's some. Whew. Now I need to plug my phone in. It's been going way too long. Bear with me. There we go. Did that cut out, I wonder? Wasn't watching. Alright, so let's put these flowers down. This one down first. And then this one can go down here next. Something like that. A couple of dimensionals on here. What's going on with my phone screen is black, so I can't actually see what's going on through my phone like I normally can. Right. And this one, isn't those berry burst flowers are so pretty. Love them. This one can go down here. And then a big one. Take all the backs off. That, and these should be stuck by now. Yes, now let's see if we can get this up the right way. Tuck that under there like that. Okay, we'll wrangle our bow into position. Maybe put a glue dot down underneath that. Hold it in place. What do we need? Take the pick tool. We might need to trim that off just a little bit, not too much. I like them being a bit long. There we go, nice big loopy bow. Don't want to sit flat. Do a bit of wrangling of that in a second. The one on the other card looks much nicer. Look. Anyway. Now we've just got to do the sentiment. So I'm using, as I mentioned, the Love for You dies. And I'm going to be using some of these very skinny words. And I really love this too here, love and you. So I have gone ahead and popped some adhesive backing on a piece of white cardstock. If you don't have these dies, go ahead and use a sentiment that you like, but it needs to just fit in here, and stamp it onto white card, or you can white emboss it onto one of the colours in the card, but I think it'll look nice stamped onto white card, and then either die cut or fussy cut to go in this space. And let me see if I can find that piece of cardstock that I put the sticky stuff on the back of, in amongst this. Hope I haven't stamped on it, which is quite possible. Might have to do another piece. Or was that piece that fell on the ground? Not here. I bet you I've stamped on it. It's probably got leaves on the back of it or something. I'll have to grab some out and do it. Because it's definitely not here. Oh, here it is. I put it aside separately. Okay, so I've got some adhesive sheet on the back of this, and I'm going to die cut the love and the you. It just makes it so much easier than trying to adhere it with these tiny, you'll see how fine the words are in a minute. So let me just run that through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And I will be back. 2 seconds. Now, just make sure that I've actually done it on the white and not on the sticky back. Go. Poke them out, you'll see how fine they are. They're so lovely and fine. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And the U. So what are all the words in that? In this set. There's love you, and there's also much. What else is there? There's a 4. There's also backgrounds that you can put them on. I think that's an and. No. So, love you so much. Love for you. I guess the 4 goes with. For you, could use. They're very cute. All right. So now that I've got sticky back on the back of these, it's going to be so much easier to glue them into place. And I'm going to just tuck them in underneath the flowers like that. It's on an almost, it's so pale, this background, that it's a bit hard to see, but I still like the white, I think, rather than any other colour. Crumb cake might have looked nice, but anyway, we're going with the white now. So I'll just tuck that down in there. See how much easier that is with the adhesive sheet on the back. And you can just tuck down into here, make sure that it's straight. Come on, little Mr. U. Okay. There we go. Now the last thing, I've got a few little dots on there. I'm just going to grab my glue eraser and take those off. I think they're from the embossing machine. My plates are not very clean. There we go. Isn't that pretty? I love it a lot. It's come up better than I thought it was going to be honest. I was a bit worried for a minute there. I'm not going to stick, there's one more thing to do that, but I just wanted to show you the other one that we were doing with the stamping. I'm not going to stick it all down. I'll do that later, and I'll put some photos up in the group. But I just wanted to show you roughly what I was going to do there, or what I envisage. So this is a similar layout, but the flowers aren't quite as large, so probably need to arrange them a little differently. I like them to come down over the and have a lot more room for a sentiment up here. And then these leaves are quite tiny compared to the other ones, but I think they'll make such a difference having those in here. There's also some die cut leaves in that Cheerful Daisies set, and you could probably just put die cut leaves in behind there. It needs a few more. So they would go on there, something like that. And then your sentiment would go in here. So you could use the same die cuts if you've got them, or you could stamp a sentiment and put it across there. Something out of the Cheerful Daisies set would probably be quite pretty, or whatever floral set you're using. And trim off your little bow. But the last thing that I think it needed would be some bling. I think it needs just a little bit of bling, so I'm going to use, I couldn't find anything really berry burst-ish, so I'm going to use these dies. Now I have no idea what they're called. They're actually adhesive sequins. I have no idea what they're called. But these ones and these ones, either of these would work. Whatever these ones are, adhesive back sequins trio, and whatever these ones, these are probably, what's the word for four? Anyway, you could use these ones or these ones. Maybe I'd use these white ones. I mean, the pink would probably look quite nice. And they've got a little bit of, maybe I can do that. But I'll show you what I was going to do and then we'll decide. So I've got my Berry Burst Stampin' Blends here. And I'm just going to, you can see that I've already been colouring some up previously. Oh, look at that. So probably need a couple of larger ones, maybe. But if you colour them up with the Berry Burst, they're quite pretty. And actually, yeah, they're quite pretty. These are pretty too, though. They shine and change. But because we're going with a colour scheme, we better stick with the Berry Burst. These other ones have got an orangey. They sort of change colour as the light hits them. They're pretty. Anyway, but we'll go with these ones. So I've just added a couple of coats of Berry Burst Stampin' Blend to them. And where will I put them? I'll put one down in the white. I'll put two down in the white because I like them to be. I think we'll put this one. Where will we put this one? Maybe down. It's quite heavy, this one. On there. One at the top here. How many have I got so far? We need another one to make 5. And we'll put one down in here. There we go. How's that? Do you like it? Now on the inside, what I would do is I would take my white panel to go on my, I'm not going to do this now because we've run out of time, but I will finish them off and put them up in the group. I will take my mask and I will probably just put one of this smaller flower just down in the corner with a leaf, and I'll just do them with the blending brushes. So that's what I would do for the inside. And I'll finish this one off as well, but I love the variation in the colour in this one. So there you go. We've done it. My first live. Neutrals adhesive back sequins. Thank you so much, Monica. Neutrals adhesive back sequins. Yeah, I suppose they are pretty neutral. Sort of, they're very metallic. But you could colour these, I think they're a silver, you could colour those up if you didn't have the other ones as well with your Stampin' Blends. It doesn't matter what colour all these little embellishments come in, you can change them all up now with your Stampin' Blends, which is amazing. Jackie's just finished her fussy cutting. Well, luckily I'd done mine beforehand, and now I've got a whole other set that I can use for something. So I'm just having a look back through the comments here. I think they go with the Gorgeously Made suite. Is that these ones, maybe? They look like those. I love those pink ones. I'm going to have to use those. I hadn't noticed that they were like iridescent before. They change colour. So that's not what iridescent means. You know what I mean. So there you go. Thank you very much. I will, this will save now as a video in YouTube, and I will put the link up in the groups. So we sort of get double bang for our buck. I'm just having a quick look back through. Thank you everyone who's here. And Jackie, once you have made your card, please put it up in the group so we can have a look at it. And I'm sure they won't mind over in the Colour Inspiration group if you put it up, because you know what I'm like. I probably won't even get mine posted. Anyway, put it up in the Sense of Whimsy group, the Blue Mushroom group, and let us know how you went, because it's always lovely when someone creates along with me. Thanks, ladies. Thank you, Sharon. Thanks, Robin. Thanks, Monica. And thank you, Jackie, for creating along with me. Very special. Okay, ladies, I should just jump back over to here to say thank you so much again for sticking with me. I'm sure now that I've done it once, I should start to remember how to do it. We'll do a couple more YouTube lives and see how I feel about them. And then if I think I'm happy with them, we might make it where it goes to both platforms. I don't know if my brain could handle that, but anyway, we'll see how we go. Thank you very much. It was lovely to talk to you all, and I will catch you later. Bye for now.